There are mornings when you open your eyes and feel as if the whole world is against you. No clear reason, just a quiet heaviness seeping into your mind. You check your phone, read a few lines of news, and suddenly the world out there has already decided your mood. You have yet to live a single moment of your own day, yet you have handed it over to someone else. We often forget that emotions are not random events, but the result of what we choose to see, to think, and to do. The Stoics believe that real strength does not lie in controlling every circumstance, but in mastering our own response. When we consciously build a firm wall around the mind, the outside world cannot easily shake it. Happiness, peace, and inner strength do not come from luck, but from living each day with intention. And that is exactly what we are about to explore. 1. Choose joy. Don't wait for it to find you. Most people see happiness as a gift that only arrives when certain conditions are met. They believe that only when work is going well, finances are stable, relationships are harmonious, and life is free of troubles can they truly smile. But this way of thinking unintentionally turns happiness into a distant destination, dependent on countless factors beyond our control. When you let your joy depend on circumstances, you hand over your emotions to something you cannot command. It is like sitting in a boat without a rudder, surrendering to wind and waves, hoping the sea will be gentle. But the sea was never made to please you. Stoic philosophy reminds us that what matters is not how the world around you unfolds, but how you choose to respond to it. A rainy day can be a reason to feel sluggish and irritable, or it can be a chance to slow down, reflect, and savor a quiet moment. The difference lies not in the weather, but in the choice you make. Once you understand this, you see that happiness is not a state that appears by chance, but a conscious act repeated as part of a disciplined life. Those who wait for happiness often fall into a cycle of delay. They tell themselves, when I achieve this goal, I'll be happier, or when things settle down, I'll feel better. But when one goal is reached, another takes its place. When one problem is solved, a new one emerges. Life is by nature a chain of changes and challenges, so if you only allow yourself joy when everything is perfect, you will rarely get to experience it. On the other hand, when you decide to seek joy even in imperfect circumstances, you begin to change your relationship with reality. You are no longer passively waiting for favorable conditions, but actively creating reasons to be grateful and appreciative. This does not mean ignoring sorrow or denying hardship. It means choosing not to let them define the whole of your experience. You can acknowledge that you are tired, disappointed, or facing challenges, and still hold a broader perspective in which positive elements remain. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the human mind has the power to turn every situation into an advantage, if seen correctly. It is a reminder that while you cannot control circumstances, your attitude is always yours to command. When you choose to keep clarity and intention, you send a clear message to yourself. I am not ruled by circumstances. I am the one shaping my experience. Choosing joy is not a one-time event, but a decision repeated daily, sometimes many times in a single day. There will be mornings when everything comes easily, and there will be days when you must work harder to find a reason to smile. But it is precisely on the difficult days that this choice carries the most weight. Because when you can hold on to joy in the face of adversity, you are building an inner strength that nothing outside can take away. 2. Own your morning. The morning is not just the start of a day. It is the moment that sets the tone for your mood, energy, and the way you respond to what's ahead. The moment you wake up, your mind is like a blank canvas, ready to take in whatever you paint on it. In that instant, you have the power to decide what the first stroke will be. If you let the noise of your phone, negative news, or the sudden demands of others take that place, you are letting the outside world write the opening lines of your day. And once those words are written, they are hard to erase from your mind. Stoic philosophy stresses the importance of controlling what is within your control, and the morning is the perfect time to practice this. You cannot know exactly what today will bring, but you can prepare your mind with a steady foundation from the start. This doesn't require elaborate rituals or hours of activity. Just a few minutes of stillness, reflection, or a purposeful act is enough to keep your agency intact. Owning your morning is sending yourself the message: I take responsibility for my state before the world has a chance to shape it. By consciously choosing how to begin your day, you place yourself in the role of leader rather than reactor. This not only shapes your emotions but also affects your focus, decision-making, and how you handle pressure throughout the day. A well-led morning is a reminder that no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you still hold a safe inner space to decide how you will move forward. The Stoics understood that morning preparation is like sharpening a blade before battle. They saw it as the time to reaffirm their guiding principles, to remind themselves of what truly matters, and to envision how they would face challenges if they came. When you own your morning, you are not rushing to catch up with the world, you are setting the pace for it. This is not resistance to the flow, but a way of defining your course before you are swept along. If you skip this opportunity, it is easy for your day to be shaped by the needs, desires, or moods of others. You will be constantly reacting, stuck in a passive mode, and by the end, feel drained without knowing why. But when you protect your morning, you create an invisible barrier that shields your mind from being unsettled too soon. And this intentionality becomes the foundation for meeting the day's challenges with greater calm and clarity. Owning your morning is not a luxury for those with extra time. It is an essential part of guarding your energy and clarity. It is the time you give yourself before you give yourself to the world. A way of starting not only your body, but your mind, ready to live the day aligned with your values and purpose. 3. Discipline on hard days. Hard days are the clearest test of one's inner strength. When things go smoothly, keeping good habits or acting by principle does not take much effort. But when your spirit is tired, pressures pile up, or your emotions run low, that is when discipline reveals its true worth. If you act only when inspired, you will quickly lose consistency and let fleeting emotions guide your life. Stoic philosophy has long emphasized that a person's character is not measured in ease but in difficulty. Hardship is the training ground, the chance to reaffirm your commitment to what matters. When you keep moving forward in adversity, you are not only completing the task at hand, but also strengthening your belief in your ability to govern yourself. It is the process of building an inner image of the steadfast person you wish to be. Discipline on hard days does not mean blindly forcing yourself past your limits. It means holding to your core principles, even when your energy or mood is low. Doing so sends a strong signal to yourself that your will and purpose are not dependent on circumstances. It is this consistent repetition, not occasional bursts of effort, when you feel motivated, that creates lasting habits. The Stoics understood that emotions are temporary, but the consequences of abandoning discipline can be long-lasting. If every time things get hard, you drop what needs to be done, you are training yourself to retreat at the first sign of discomfort. Conversely, if you maintain action, even a small step, you are teaching your mind to keep going despite unfavorable conditions. This is the difference between those who move only with a fair wind and those who steer even in the storm. Discipline in adversity is also a way of protecting self-respect. When you keep your promises to yourself in difficult times, you reinforce the internal belief that you are someone you can rely on. This creates a positive cycle. Each time you overcome an obstacle, your self-trust grows, and that trust fuels your ability to stand firm in future challenges. This is accumulated strength not from one grand act, but from hundreds or thousands of small moments when you chose to advance despite reluctance. Ultimately, discipline on hard days is proof that you place long-term goals above temporary feelings. It reflects a mature mindset, one that understands achievement and growth do not come from luck or favorable conditions, but from the ability to sustain necessary actions regardless of mood. When you can do this, you not only move closer to your goals, but also lay a solid foundation for resilience, the priceless asset that no challenge can take away. 4. Action brings emotion. There is a common but mistaken belief that we must feel ready before we can begin doing something. Many wait for inspiration to arrive, for energy to surge, or for their mood to lift before taking action. In reality, emotions are ever-changing and unpredictable, while action is something you can deliberately control. When you act first, even without initial motivation, that very action begins to shift your mood, your energy, and your sense of belief. Stoic philosophy reminds us that emotions are not always reliable guides. If you allow yourself to be led entirely by how you feel in the moment, you will be swept up in passing reactions and miss what truly matters. On the other hand, if you choose to act based on values, principles, and long-term goals, you lay the groundwork for a positive cycle. Action produces small results. Those results create a sense of progress, and that sense of progress fuels the desire to keep acting. The human brain responds more strongly to tangible experiences than to abstract thoughts. When you start doing the work, even a small step, your brain receives the signal that you are moving forward, and it adjusts your emotional state to match your behavior. This is why action can rapidly change your mood, while waiting for your feelings to shift often leads to prolonged delay. The Stoics understood the power of doing the right thing, even without inspiration. They did not deny emotions, but they refused to let emotions decide everything. They treated action as a form of inner discipline, a commitment to keep moving based on what they knew was right, not what they happened to feel in the moment. This requires self-awareness and the ability to separate fleeting feelings from long-term direction. When you train yourself to act first and let emotions follow, you are also training yourself to control life rather than be controlled by your feelings. This allows you to remain steady in unfavorable moments when your mood dips or circumstances are against you. Action becomes the anchor that keeps you from being swept away by emotional currents. Ultimately, remember that emotions are shaped by many factors, and action is one powerful factor you can influence. Each time you push past initial reluctance and begin, you open the door for your mood and energy to improve. When this becomes a habit, you are no longer at the mercy of emotional chance. You possess a lasting strength that comes from your own agency. This is one of the foundational skills for living with steadiness and effectiveness in the Stoic way. 5. Direct your attention well. The human mind is like a lens. It magnifies whatever you continually focus on. If you spend most of your time and energy looking at problems, difficulties, and negatives, they will grow larger in your perception. Conversely, if you train yourself to look for opportunities, solutions, and positive aspects, you will start to notice them more often. This is not illusion or self-deception, but a natural principle of the brain. What you focus on shapes how you experience reality. Stoic philosophy has long pointed out that while we cannot control all events, we can fully control how we perceive them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts. If you continually feed it with pessimism, your mood and actions will follow that downward pull. But if you choose to view the world through curiosity, learning, and gratitude, you will experience life differently even before circumstances change. Directing your attention well does not mean ignoring or denying problems. It means looking at challenges with clear eyes, while deliberately seeking the elements that can move you forward, rather than letting your mind remain trapped in what cannot be changed. When you focus on what you control, you open the way to act more effectively and reduce feelings of helplessness. This is central to Stoic practice. Do not waste energy on what is beyond reach. Pour all of it into what you can influence. The human brain is equipped with a filtering mechanism called the reticular activating system, RAS, which acts as a gatekeeper, deciding what receives your attention. When you fix your mind on a goal or a particular line of thought, the RAS constantly searches for and filters information that matches it. This is both a power and a risk. If you focus on the negative, the RAS will bring you more evidence to reinforce that view. But if you train it to seek solutions and opportunities, it will bring you the data you need to move forward. Training your attention must be done deliberately and consistently. Each time you realize you are being pulled into thoughts that serve no value, pause and ask yourself, does this help me move forward? Is there something more worthy of my focus? This simple question can help you redirect your mental lens and prevent your mind from wandering into places that weaken you. Finally, remember that mental energy is finite. Every time you give it to something useless, you take it away from something that could improve your life. When you learn to direct your attention well, you change not only your emotions, but your entire experience of living. And this is one of the quiet, yet enduring strengths that Stoicism offers. 6. Feed your mind selectively. The mind, like the body, is nourished by what we feed it daily. If you constantly give it negative, chaotic, or meaningless input, it will reflect that in how you think, feel, and act. Conversely, if you deliberately choose sources of information that hold value, foster understanding, and spark reflection, your mind will grow sharper, calmer, and more clearly directed. This is not just a metaphorical suggestion, it is a psychological and neurological truth. The brain forms habits and tendencies based on what it is regularly exposed to. Stoic philosophy has long affirmed the importance of guarding the mind from influences that disrupt or weaken the will. The philosophers of that age did not face modern media, but they deeply understood the power of the words, images, and stories we allow in. They carefully selected what they read, heard, and discussed, knowing that the mind is shaped by the mental environment around it. Today, with the unprecedented speed of information flow, this has become even more critical. Feeding your mind selectively is not only about removing harmful influences, it is about actively seeking positive ones. A trained mind does not merely avoid what is toxic. It continually adds material that builds and strengthens it. This requires a high level of self-discipline because the environment is full of tempting but valueless inputs. You must regularly ask yourself, does this bring me closer to the life I aim to live? Does it strengthen the qualities I want to cultivate? Scientifically, the brain works on the principle that neurons that fire together wire together. If you repeatedly expose yourself to violent, negative, or meaningless content, the neural connections linked to those states grow stronger, making it harder to return to clarity and calm. But if you consistently engage with information that broadens your understanding, sparks wisdom, and deepens awareness, you build a mental foundation that can better withstand pressure and disorder. The Stoics would call this guarding the gates of the mind. They saw the mind as a fortress, admitting only what was useful. In our age, this means setting clear boundaries for what you consume, from news sources and social media to everyday conversations. This is not about isolating yourself from the world, but about ensuring that what enters your mind contributes to building rather than eroding it. Feeding your mind selectively is a continuous process, requiring persistence and a clear awareness of the values you live by. Over time, your mind becomes clearer, your emotional responses more balanced, and your direction easier to maintain, even in turbulent surroundings. This is the foundation not only for living well, but for living firmly in the Stoic spirit. 7. Gratitude as a survival reflex. Gratitude is not merely a polite gesture or a fleeting feeling when things go well. In the depth of Stoic philosophy, gratitude is a survival tool, a reflex that must be trained to protect mental balance against life's inevitable upheavals. When the world around us turns chaotic, the mind naturally scans for threats, fixates on what is wrong, and continually warns of danger. This mechanism once served survival in times of peril, but in the modern world it easily leads to chronic tension, pessimism, and loss of direction if left unchecked. Gratitude acts as a counterweight to this negative bias. When you deliberately direct your attention to what is still present and valuable, you restore balance in perception. This does not mean denying hardship or pretending all is well. It means choosing not to let negative circumstances define your entire perspective. Even in harsh situations, recognizing that something remains to be cherished helps preserve a measure of clarity and sound judgment. The Stoics practiced gratitude not only in prosperity but in adversity. They often reminded themselves of life's impermanence and the possibility of loss at any moment, not to be morbid, but to deepen appreciation for what they had. When you know everything can change or vanish, you naturally pay greater attention to present moments, relationships, and values. This awareness builds an inner strength that keeps you from being pulled into cycles of complaint or disappointment. Psychologically, gratitude has a direct effect on both emotional and physical states. Focusing on the positive triggers the brain to release chemicals linked to satisfaction and calm, while lowering stress levels. This is not just a mental benefit, but a biological one, supporting health and resilience under pressure. In this sense, gratitude truly is a survival reflex. It enhances adaptability and shields you from mental erosion. Training this reflex requires persistence and repetition. It does not have to involve grand gestures or elaborate rituals. A simple pause to acknowledge what exists and holds meaning can reinforce the habit. When gratitude becomes reflexive, you will find yourself less affected by setbacks and quicker to regain balance after disruption. Gratitude as a survival reflex is a reminder that inner strength does not come from erasing all difficulty, but from the ability to find value even within it. When you cultivate this habit, you not only guard your peace, but also create a mental armor that allows you to stand firm and keep moving forward despite challenges. This is a foundation for living resiliently and intentionally true to the spirit Stoic philosophy has carried for centuries. 8. Peace is a personal responsibility. Peace is not a gift someone else can hand you, nor a random reward from favorable circumstances. It is a state you must consciously build and protect, no matter how the outside world shifts. When you entrust your peace to the behavior, opinions, or attitudes of others, you surrender control of your life to forces beyond your reach. Stoic philosophy teaches that lasting mental stability is fortified from within, grounded in principles, boundaries, and clear self-awareness. External turbulence is unavoidable. There will always be conflicting opinions, disagreements, pressures, and unexpected events. If each time this happens, your mood and decisions swing with it, peace becomes fragile, shattered by a single word or minor act from someone else. By contrast, when you treat peace as a personal responsibility, you begin to see it as an inner territory that must be guarded, where every choice is weighed against your core values rather than impulsive reactions. Guarding peace does not mean avoiding all conflict or refusing engagement. It means setting boundaries to filter what is truly worthy of your attention and energy. The Stoics understood that our reaction to events, not the events themselves, determines our experience. By choosing your responses deliberately, you prevent your mind from being overrun by outside chaos. This is both self-respect and mental discipline, requiring you to remain lucid even when emotions are tested. This requires distinguishing clearly between what you can control and what you cannot. You cannot compel others to act as you wish, but you can decide how to respond and how much to let it affect you. When you practice this separation, you will see that many things that once disturbed your peace are not worth the energy. This is not indifference, but a conscious choice to prioritize what truly matters for your growth and stability. Peace is also a personal responsibility because it is tied to consistency in action. If you claim to value tranquility but repeatedly place yourself in environments, relationships, or habits that disrupt it, you contradict your own goal. Aligning your actions with your values ensures peace is not just an idea, but a reality you maintain daily. When peace becomes part of your own responsibility, you stop waiting for others to create or guard it for you. You actively build it through your mindset, your responses, and your way of living. And you realize this strength cannot be taken from you unless you allow it. This is the foundation for living firmly, unswayed by the emotional waves of the world, and one of the clearest expressions of the inner freedom. Stoic philosophy always points toward 9. Simplify to see what matters. Complexity is not always richness. Often it is the layers, directions, and pressures we pile onto life that rob us of the ability to see what is essential. When you keep adding goals, obligations, information, and relationships that are not truly necessary, the mind becomes scattered, with no space left to focus on what holds real value. Simplification is not the abandonment of ambition or the shrinking of life, it is the removal of the excess to give full attention to the vital few. The Stoics upheld this principle millennia ago. They advised, if an action is not right, do not do it. If a word is not true, do not say it. Simplification in this sense applies not only to possessions or schedules, but also to thoughts, emotions, and values. When you strip away mental clutter, it becomes easier to make wise choices and sustain inner stability. Complexity often gives the illusion of a full and productive life. But in truth, it can be the very reason for exhaustion and loss of direction. Each new demand, concern, or commitment consumes mental energy. Unchecked, they accumulate, pushing you into a constant reactive mode instead of guiding your life deliberately. Simplification is how you reclaim control by defining what is truly worth your time and effort. This requires the ability to evaluate and the courage to let go. Not every opportunity needs to be seized, not every invitation accepted, and not every goal pursued at once. When you release what does not align with your core values, you make room for the most important things to grow. This is both a strategic and disciplined act, resisting the natural urge to hold on to everything out of fear of missing out. Simplification also reduces information overload, one of the greatest causes of unclear thinking today. By limiting what you consume to what serves your purpose, your mind can focus deeply instead of spreading thin. This brings depth rather than shallow breadth, improving both the quality of thought and the quality of action. In the end, simplification is not a retreat but a strategic advance, allowing you to approach life with clarity and effectiveness. It lets you see the path clearly, recognize what truly matters, and dedicate your full resources to what nourishes those values. When simplicity becomes part of your way of living, you will find yourself less distracted, more at peace, and more steadfast in your chosen direction. This is the foundation for building a life that is both profound and enduring, exactly as Stoic philosophy has long encouraged. 10. End the day with gratitude. The way you close your day is no less important than how you begin it. The moments before sleep are when the mind shifts from wakefulness to rest. And what you think about at this time will directly affect the quality of your sleep and your mood the next day. If you let your mind be filled with negative thoughts, unresolved situations, or self-criticism, these will become the content your brain processes through the night. Conversely, if you direct your mind toward gratitude, you send yourself a positive signal, helping the nervous system relax and reinforcing a state of balance. Gratitude at the end of the day is not about ignoring the unpleasant moments that happened, but about looking at the whole picture and recognizing that despite what went wrong, today still held value. Stoic philosophy sees this as a form of cognitive training, the deliberate practice of acknowledging both the good and the not so good, without allowing the negative to dominate your perspective. This helps the mind preserve sound judgment and avoid falling into cycles of disappointment or excessive self-blame. This habit is also a structured form of reflection. When you take time to recall the positive, no matter how big or small, you are training your brain to focus on the elements that support mental stability. The Stoics often paired gratitude with self-assessment, asking themselves what they did well, where they could improve, and whether they had lived according to their principles. But instead of turning it into a list of faults, they treated it as an opportunity to learn and acknowledge progress. Biologically, a grateful state before sleep helps reduce the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for the stress response. As it calms, the body shifts into deeper rest, heart rate slows, and sleep quality improves. Furthermore, it helps the brain store positive memories, creating a stronger emotional foundation when you wake. This is not only a short-term emotional benefit, but also a factor that builds long-term resilience against life's pressures. Ending the day with gratitude also reinforces a sense of agency in life. You are not merely carried along by what happened, you are choosing the lens through which you close a chapter in your day. This brings closure, reduces feelings of incompleteness, and allows you to enter sleep with a lighter mind. Practiced regularly, it creates a positive loop. You sleep better, wake up with a more stable mood, and are more likely to maintain presence of mind throughout the day. Closing the day with gratitude is a small act with a compounding effect over time. It not only improves your immediate emotional state, but shapes how you remember and evaluate life. When days are ended with appreciation, even for a few simple things, you realize that peace and joy are not the results of circumstance, but the products of a choice repeated daily. And once that choice becomes habit, it becomes the foundation for a steadier, more meaningful life, just as the Stoic tradition has long taught. I believe that a person's greatest strength does not lie in mastering the external world, but in the ability to lead oneself regardless of circumstances. The 10 principles shared here are not perfect steps, but practical tools for building a foundation of peace and happiness. Their value lies in daily application. They require no special conditions, only persistence and clarity of purpose. When you choose to act according to principle rather than fleeting emotion, you are steadily shaping the person you wish to become. It is a journey without a final destination, but with each day you hold firm, you draw closer to a life that is stable, free, and deeply meaningful. If you found value in these reflections, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming content. And remember, true strength is not in waiting for life to change, but in your ability to change how you live each day. See you in the next video.